Uncertainty plagues the markets as Europe and America teeter on the brink of debt and self-destruction. Occupiers move into foreclosed homes, staying warm for the next phase of their insurrection. Scenes of civil unrest look strikingly similar from America to Athens, and it is entirely possible that we may be asked to choose between Newt Gingrich and Barack Obama to lead us to freedom and prosperity. Is there any hope at all? Who better to ask than our good friend Glenn Beck, author of the great new book, Being George Washington.
How are you, sir?
Good. Good to be with you. How bad are things in America today? That introduction that I just gave, is it fair? Am I right?
Oh, I don't think we survive. 2016, America is not what America is today.
What do you mean by that?
Either anybody
That's 5
who
years
wins,
from now.
anybody who wins. The economic situation around the world is deteriorating rapidly. You're starting to see people, German came out over the weekend and said, this is an American plot, this collapsing of the euro is an American plot. You're starting to see the things that I talked about 3 years ago starting to happen. You also have anger and rage starting, and the left is tearing us apart.
All right, let's start with Europe. Do you think that we will have the advantage of seeing the future happen first in Europe? Stated differently, will this stuff happen in Germany and Italy and Spain and France before it happens here?
Judge, I just sat with a group of members of the European Parliament yesterday, and I said, you guys are ahead of us. And they said, yes, we're ahead, but it is coming. And we talked about any event, any global event could make America go first. I doubt it will, but could make America go first. But Europe is going to come undone.
All right, so the Eurozone is dismantled. The euro is worthless. Germany goes back to Deutsche Marks, and Italy goes back to lira. And doesn't that affect American banks?
Yeah, absolutely. We are on the edge of collapse. We're on the edge of collapse. This whole recession thing, that's a made-up word. What is a recession? What?
It's a term economists apply when certain numbers.
Yeah, and economists are the ones who have gotten us into this place. And economists have been the ones who are telling us that we're going to get out of this mess. We're not going to get out of this mess. We have to. It's the Kondraciev wave. Ask an economist about that. It's the idea where green shoots come from. You must go into winter, and they keep saying no. Bring all the trees inside of the greenhouse. We've got to go into winter. And the system has been trying to do it since the 90s. And this bogus propping up is only making things worse.
Bring this green shoots and into winter down to earth for me. Do you think there's going to be riots in the streets that the police cannot control? Do you think that your property and the property of people watching us now is no longer safe?
Yes. I'm moving to Texas for a reason, Judge.
Why are you moving to Texas?
I'm moving to one of the reasons I'm moving to Texas is because I do not believe that New York is safe. I just had an hour-long conversation with Jim Rogers just this week.
The fantastic investor from Singapore who was on our show.
Who moved to Singapore way ahead of the game, moved to Singapore for the same reason. It's unsafe here. We were talking, I played an ad this is on GBTV, and I played an ad that I had done, a promo, and it talks about the greatness of America. And he shook his head and he said, I'm sorry, my friend, that's over. And I said, excuse me? Now we're in the commercial break.
Right.
And I said, talk to me about this when we get back on the air. He said, Glenn, it's over. It has to restart. It's not going to be this way. This is just economic. Add now all of the world politics that are going on. We're headed for global war. And then what candidates do we have running right now?
All right, let's talk about candidates that are running right now. What has become of the Tea Party? They helped the Republicans take over the House. They kicked out a couple of liberal senators, Bob Bennett in Utah and Arlen Specter in Pennsylvania.
I will tell you this.
But nothing has changed.
I tell you that this system, people make fun of me all the time when I say...
Nobody makes fun of you, Ben.
No, I know. People make fun of me all the time when I say, the question I always ask a politician is, how's your soul? How's your soul? And the stupid ones will say, it's fine, it's great. Why? Well, because you're going into a lion's den. If you have anything that they can use against you, if you have anything that can be satisfied by somebody else, you're going to be tempted, you're going to be exploited, you're going to be, whatever it is, they're going to eat you alive.
All right, we're going to take a break in a few minutes, and when we come back, I'm going to ask you about specific candidates. But before we do, you arguably were present at the creation of the Tea Party, and I was at some of those rallies with you. Where is that furor? Where is that anger? Where is that excitement? Where is that passion for small government today?
You know what? I issue a challenge to the Tea Party, but on the other side of it, I know that there's a lot of people out there, that still believe it. They've just given up on the system, and they're looking for, they know the system is gamed, it's rigged on both sides. The progressive Republicans exist.
Do you agree with me that we don't really have a two-party system in this country? We have one big government party with a Republican wing and a Democratic wing.
It's the progressive disease. Remember the speech I gave at CPAC?
Right.
And I talked about the cancer is progressivism, and it is in the GOP as well. You're seeing that happen right now. Look at the choices you have.
Glenn spoke earlier this week with presidential candidate Newt Gingrich. The two disagreed on just about everything. Is there any way Beck could be behind Gingrich in 2012? Our good friend Glenn Beck, author of the terrific new book, Being George Washington, is back with us now.
I think he's the only candidate that I cannot vote for.
You challenged him at the core of his beliefs.
He's a progressive.
He made the mistake of saying to you that his favorite president of the United States was Theodore Roosevelt, the original nanny stater.
He said before he gave his progressive speech, before he did that, well, Newt, I read history. I know exactly who Teddy Roosevelt was. I know he did the FDA, and it's not just about sausages. He said, well, we want to make sure that people aren't falling into sausage factories. Yeah, we do.
He believes that stuff from Upton Sinclair's
Please, yeah, this is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And I issued a challenge to the Tea Party members.
What's the challenge?
The challenge is this. You read his record. You read his words.
You're talking about Gingrich.
Gingrich. Not just the happy parts like you read about Theodore Roosevelt. Look into his record. See what he believes. This man is a progressive. He knows he's a progressive. He doesn't have a problem with being a progressive. So if you've got a big government progressive or a big government progressive in Obama, one in Newt Gingrich, one in Obama, ask yourself this, Tea Party. Is it about Obama's race? Because that's what it appears to be to me. If you're against him, but you're for this guy,
what kind of sense does that make?
It must be about race.
All right, it must be about race.
Well, I mean, what else is it,
Because
Judge?
there'd be very little difference on their policies. Absolutely.
It's the policies that matter.
But here's the other thing. Gingrich is so polarizing. If he is the Republican nominee, the Democrats may succeed in turning the campaign away from the president's miserable 3 years in office onto the personality and the personal background and the wacky ideas of Newt Gingrich.
It is the establishment in Washington clawing for power, just clawing for power. He makes Mitt Romney look like a small government guy.
All right, but Mitt Romney also loves government.
Yes, he does.
Mitt Romney believes that the solution to health care issues is government intervention. And, I know he distinguishes between what you can do in the Massachusetts
He's not my candidate.
and the federal
He's not my candidate. I could pull a lever for him. I would do it against my will. I mean, it would kill me to do it. But he's not Barack Obama. Newt Gingrich has all of the earmarks.
How do you explain Gingrich's rise in the past 2 months, and do you think he can sustain it past Iowa and New Hampshire and
Big
South Carolina?
Government, GOP machinery.
Yes. Yes, the GOP machinery wants somebody as volatile as Gingrich rather than someone as establishment as Romney?
I think that Newt Gingrich is very good at his language. He's very good. He knows history. He knows it. He knows which parts of Theodore Roosevelt to highlight, which to keep under the carpet.
Right. All right.
He knows it.
What do you think of Ron Paul? You and you agree with much of what Ron Paul says.
I do. Here's where I disagree vehemently with Ron Paul on Israel, and I disagree vehemently on his foreign policy. Now, here's this trouble I have. I'm a fan of Santorum. I think Santorum is too big military interventionist over the Middle East. Ron Paul is not enough. I'm between those two.
Okay, but on the economy, on the proper
right.
role of the
He's
federal
right.
government in
He's
our
right.
lives,
He's
you're
right.
right
He's
with
right.
you're
He's
right with Ron.
You know, the Fed now has 16 of the biggest hedge funds advising them. An unregulated hedge fund group going in and meeting and advising the Fed. You want to know why the stock market goes up every time they release money? Because these guys they're stealing our money.
Glenn,
close them down.
I miss you. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
Always
you.
a pleasure,
Thank
my
you.
friend.